Elsewhere in Japan, the night is going a very different way. As two men drunkenly make their way through the mansion that they live in. I'm telling you, Roby, they had some choice women at that bar. I'd have taken a shot at any one of them. Oh, don't give me that crap, Choka. You did take a run at every one of them, and every one of them shot your ass down. Yeah, maybe I need to come up with a new opening line. Yeah, or maybe you should try not using the same opening line with every woman. That might work, you moron. Hey, don't call me a moron. They argued amongst themselves as they walked through the halls, on their way back to their own quarters. The night air still chills, though it's warmer in the interior of their home, as they laugh and talk amongst each other. But as they walk, they look ahead and find something that catches their eye. What the hell? They say, looking ahead. The halls of the estate, dark, lit only by the candles that they carry, and lanterns covered. What the fuck? They say amongst each other, as they see, lying in the hallway, a man drenched in his own blood, the blood beginning to pool and gather around him. Is that Okabe? They exclaim as they begin to rush over, in a frenzy, turning the man over and beginning to look him across his body, finding his throat slashed, his heart unbeating. The night is still cold, and the blood is fresh. It's still emitting small amounts of steam, its warmth being stolen by the cold air. What the hell happened to him? No, there's no time to worry about that, his friend replies, as he takes his hands off of him. Go tell the boss. We have an intruder in the estate, he says, as his friend begins to run down the hallway, heading towards their leader, the leader of the Jomo Syndicate, a criminal organization that has been gaining power in this, a larger city on the road to Tokyo, as one of them remains, still looking over their fallen comrade, and gritting his teeth as he stares down at the gore, the sight of his fallen friend. He looks back to his friend running down the hall, as suddenly, seemingly from nowhere, emerging from the wall itself, a figure in white clothing reaches out as if his body were made of smoke and fog, grabbing hold of his friend's head and in a single motion pulling him back towards the wall. The sound of the impact is solid as he slams him against it, his hands still wrapped around his friend's face, pulling him back, pinning him against the wall as his arm sticks out of it, as his friend reaches up, struggling to try to break free. What the fuck? He says, peering down the hallway in terror, unsure of what this ghostly entity might be. How did it come through the wall? What is it? He thinks to himself as the fright begins to take effect, as he sees a splash of red and a shimmer of steam, as a blade comes protruding through the wall, and his friend as well. Blood beginning to gush from the wound as the blade is propelled through it, and from beside the man, a masked figure begins to protrude from the wall. Oh, I'm sorry. Does that hurt? It looks like agony, he says, as his eyes look towards the man he has held tightly against the wall. The white Oni mask that he wears, striking fear into his heart, even in this, his final moments. Don't worry. It'll be over soon enough, the figure exclaims, as in a rapid rush of movement, the blade pulls itself free. More blood gushes out of the wound. The man pinned to the wall coughs up blood, spilling through the fingers of the figure pinning him to the wall, grasping tightly upon his face as his body begins to fall still, finally being released to fall to the ground, his breath choppy, unsteady, and fading rapidly as his friend down the hallway begins to take steps in the opposite direction, stepping backwards down the hallway. "It's a demon. A demon's in the mansion," he says, looking horrified at the figure that now steps free from the wall, robed entirely in white, with a white Oni mask and a long blade, drenched in the blood of his allies. Oh, what a beautiful night. A beautiful night to fill with fright, the masked figure says as he begins to step past his still barely clinging to life friend, stepping over him as if he weren't even there at all. And in this night that's so filled with dread, all the monsters asleep in their bed, I wonder if they'll begin to run when they realize a demon is hunting them, scattering round and round inside the walls behind they so frequently hide, the barriers they built to keep them safe, now nothing more but a cage. I do so wonder how they'll feel when they realize that freedom isn't real, and that escape is just a fantasy, a dream that they had whilst asleep. For in the true reality, a demon owns their blood and screams. For even if they try to flee, a demon's blade shall slake their greed, the figure said, as he walked down the hallway slowly, menacingly, the white cloaks that wrap around him seeming to disapparate, seeming physical, but at the same time not, as if they drift in and out of actually being there, turning to fog and then back to fabric, a red glow emitting from the eyes of the Oni mask that glare at him. As, in a panic, the man backing down the hallway turns around, trying to run as fast as he can, trying to escape, as in another burst of red, a flourish of blood that scatters across the ground and walls. He finds a blade protruding from his own chest as his footsteps slow, and he coughs up blood, now gasping for breath, as his hands reach up to the blade in his chest, shaking, unsteady, as he feels the blade jerk and move inside of him, as if someone were holding it. And as he looks over his shoulder, he sees that the ghostly demonic figure from which he was fleeing has already closed the distance, now standing behind him, peering over his shoulder. "Oh, now, weren't you ever taught anything? You shouldn't take things that belong to other people. This sword belongs to me, so I think I'll be having it back," he says, as in a rapid movement he pulls the blade free, blood scattering across the floor as the man stumbles forward a bit, falling first to his knees as the lights begin to go out and consciousness slips away from him, finally fumbling his way to the ground as a pool of blood begins to gather around him, and the ghostly figure that looms overhead removes his eyes as a clattering of footsteps coming down the hall summon his attention, as a few figures come to an intersection of hallways peering down the one that the demon was in, seeing him standing there, over their bleeding friends. "Who the hell is that?" they exclaim in fright and anger as they look at their friends bleeding out on the ground. The ghostly figure simply begins to walk, but not towards the men. No, he walks straight towards the nearest wall, passing straight through it, as if he were nothing but a ghost, haunting this mansion.